Young friend, please take a seat. Zhu Heixin politely invited, displaying extreme solicitousness without showing any arrogance typical of a black-grade alchemist. I can guarantee that within 5 days, no, 3 days, I'll have the medicinal ingredients that you require delivered to you. Good. Ling Han nodded. In his last life, his position was at the absolute summit, but he was weak now, so he might as well befriend a couple more people and extend his social network. Meanwhile, for a small character like Ma Da-jun, a small punishment was enough. He would not lower himself to the same level as him. Zhu Heixin was delighted and hurriedly led Ling Han and Lu Yutong to an elegant study on the 3rd floor. If I may ask, who is young friend's master? The old man asked. I have no master. I'm self-taught, Ling Han said. In his last life, he had visited many powerful authorities of alchemical arts and mastered everything. In the end, he formed his own faction and became the greatest alchemist in history. Zhu Heixin naturally did not believe him. Ling Han was so young. How was it possible for him to have such a deep knowledge of alchemy? However, he was very impressed with Ling Han and had the intention to make him join Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Thus, he asked him numerous questions to examine Ling Han's skill level. Ling Han calmly answered all his questions. He was a Grandmaster alchemist. Whether in the past or in the present, who could compare to him in the field of alchemy? As their conversation continued, the leading role gradually fell into his hands. He occasionally caused Zhu Heixin to rack his brains and ponder, and the old man's face became more and more respectful. There was no seniority in academics. Whoever has the ability becomes the teacher. In the beginning, the old man kept addressing him, young friend, placing himself on a higher position, but very quickly, he changed his manner of address and addressed Ling Han as fellow alchemist. In the end, with his forehead beaded with cold sweat, he couldn't help standing up and respectfully standing at Ling Han's side to listen closely to his teachings, as if he was an apprentice. It was just like when he used to be taught by his esteemed master. In his heart, Ling Han had already reached a very high position. He even had a kind of feeling, if only considering theory and insight, Ling Han had far surpassed his own master. Grandmaster, may I follow by your side and continue to listen to your teachings? When Zhu Xin said this, Lu Yutong was almost shocked to death. But after she carefully thought it over, it seemed to be the natural order of events. However, if this was known by the other great clans in the imperial city, she was afraid that everyone would die of envy. This was an actual black-grade alchemist. Although he was only a low-level one, the title of black-grade was more than enough, wasn't it? Lu Yutong was astonished, and her resistance to the idea of being Ling Han's follower decreased slightly. Even a Grandmaster alchemist like Zhu Heixin was begging to follow Ling Han. So what did she have to complain about? Ling Han shook his head and said, At this moment, I have no intention to take on any disciples. In truth, Zhu Heixin's talent in the field of alchemy, in his opinion, could only be considered ordinary. In the past, he had taken on 3 disciples, and all 3 of them were exceptionally talented. Zhu Heixin only felt that it was a pity, and furthermore fully realized that Ling Han refused because his natural talent in alchemy was ordinary. Therefore, he was not qualified to become his disciple. He too felt that this was natural. After all, Ling Han's knowledge and skill in the field of alchemy was at too high a level, one which he was only able to admire and look up to from afar. To become the other's disciple was indeed too much to hope for. Lu Yutong was dumbstruck that Ling Han had actually refused. He refused. This person was an actual low-level black-grade alchemist. And as long as Zhu Heixin agreed, even the imperial family of Rain Country would fall over themselves to meet him, and maybe would even gift him with a princess's hand in marriage. However, Ling Han had actually refused him without much consideration. This guy was really incomprehensible. However, if you encounter any trouble with understanding something, you can still come to the Ling clan to look for me whenever you like, Ling Han said. Many thanks, Grandmaster. Many thanks, Grandmaster. Zhu Heixin repeatedly raised his clasped hands in Ling Han's direction, his face revealing the utter joy he was feeling. Lu Yutong felt speechless in her mind. If this scene was seen by others, they would definitely be so shocked that their eyeballs would fall out of their sockets. A person with the noble status of a black-grade alchemist was actually performing the salutations of a disciple in front of Ling Han, feeling honored merely because of being able to visit him. N. Then I'll take my leave, Ling Han said. Let me see you off, Grandmaster. Zhu Heixin quickly said. Oh, right, Yutong. Did you bring any money with you? Help me pay for medicine in advance. Ling Han turned towards Lu Yutong and said. Lu Yutong, of course, now knew that this medication was intended for Ling Han himself and not for her illness, so she couldn't stop her lips from twitching, thinking that this guy really knew how to make the best use of everything. He had just taken her in as a follower, and now he was aiming for her purse. No need, no need. Zhu Heixin hurriedly waved his hands. The alchemical knowledge he heard from Ling Han today was invaluable. How could he bear to take Ling Han's payment for the medicinal ingredients? Great master, please do allow me to express some of my gratitude by waiving the payment. Ling Han pondered for a moment, then said, Then do as you like. Though he had only casually taught Zhu Heixin a bit, he was the actual alchemy emperor. This little bit of teaching would be enough for Zhu Heixin to benefit from for the rest of his life. Zhu Heixin immediately looked delighted. To be able to do something for Ling Han, even if it was only such a small favor, made him extremely elated. He even felt honored. Then I'll buy some return origin pills, Ling Han said after thinking for a while. Return origin pill? This kind of cheap thing? How can I let Grandmaster buy it? Anyway, it's something I can casually create, so naturally, it'll be a gift to Grandmaster. Zhu Heixin quickly said. Lu Yutong was once again rendered speechless. Return origin pill could allow a martial artist to quickly recover his origin power. It was an indispensable support during combat, and it was not something simple that could be casually created. Although Ling Han only required the lowest level lower grade return origin pills, even one of them would be worth 3 silver coins at least. Zhu Heixin was very generous, immediately giving Ling Han 100 return origin pills. If it was not for the fact that Ling Han was still only in the body refining tier and could only take low-level return origin pills, he would definitely have presented him with high-level return origin pills instead. Ling Han and Lu Yutong descended down the stairs and left, seen off by Zhu Heixin. Where are we going now? Lu Yutong could not help asking after the two had walked for a while. Ling Han smiled slightly and said, Naturally home, to wait for the medicine to be delivered. Without healing the spirit base first, he had no way to start cultivating. Lu Yutong curiously asked, You really know how to concoct pills? There should be no one on this world who knows that better than me, Ling Han bluntly said. You're bragging. Lu Yutong harumphed. Although Ling Han had completely subdued Zhu Heixin was only a black-grade alchemist. There were still alchemists of earth grade and heaven grade above him. Ling Han did not argue with her. His status had long been engraved in history. Why didn't you agree to let Grandmaster Zhu follow by your side? He's not only an alchemist, but also a warrior of Gushing Spring tier, Lu Yutong asked. Ling Han paused in his step, turned over to look at her, and continued walking forward, saying, First, your spirit base is of heaven grade, and you've now reached the 8th level of element gathering tier, so you're one step away from breaking through to Gushing Spring tier. Second, I don't need anyone to concoct pills for me. Third, if I really need to have someone by my side, then a beautiful girl is far easier on the eyes than an old man. Lu Yutong could not help but be speechless. However, his words did cause her to be a little pleased deep within her heart. We'll go home first. I still have to teach you 3 yin mysterious arts, Ling Han said. Lu Yutong could not help feeling a bit excited, and her steps quickened. The illness that caused her to fall asleep without reason has troubled her for far too many years. The two returned to the Ling clan residence. On the whole way, all servants they saw were wearing peculiar expressions. They had heard of what had happened that morning, that the chief butler had actually been trashed by young Master Trash. It wasn't too surprising for them to know about it, for this kind of news would naturally spread throughout the whole clan quite quickly. Ling Han pretended to see nothing and brought Lu Yutong to his room to start teaching her 3 yin mysterious arts. Aren't you afraid I'll go back on my word? Lu Yutong suddenly asked when Linghan was about to recite the arts. Will you? Linghan asked in return.